Hey, welcome back. I'm Cliff. You're watching Tech Endeavor. And on this video, I'm going to obviously share some lessons that I learned this past year. I was going to do a video with just one, my number one biggest lesson that I learned, but I got to thinking about it. And it's really, I've learned so many different things. There's at least one thing on this list that, I probably could have guessed at the beginning before I started this job, but there's a few things here that I really couldn't have guessed, and they kind of took me by surprise. So stick around and I'll go through those. It's actually 4 things, so my 4 biggest lessons, and there's probably some other ones that I could have put on here, but I decided to just do my top 4. So this video doesn't become, a 45-minute long video. Just really quick, before we do get started, I want to remind you that we have some conversations going on in my Discord server. You can check out the link in the description if you want to come join. We're talking about tech stuff, coding stuff. If you're interested, come join the conversation. We can go into a lot more detail than we can in the YouTube comments. So if you want to get help with some coding, maybe you need help debugging, or you just want to be part of a cool community, we have a few people in there now. And so I'm really hoping that we can grow that and really connect with each other and help each other out. So I think that's a really cool thing. Okay, so the first thing that I learned, or not the first thing, but the first thing on this list that I learned over the past year is speak up. I was so scared to speak up when I first started. Not necessarily scared, but I was just so unconfident in my ability, and my opinions and my views to speak up. And I would kind of just like sit there and just kind of, passively try to absorb as much information as I could to do a good job at my job. But, with the encouragement of my COO, I started to actually speak up and offer my ideas. I would see the other developers on the team, and I know that they had seniority on me. They had more experience than I did in coding in general and at this company, so they knew more about our technology and stuff. And so I just didn't feel confident in even saying anything. But the value you can bring to a place, even if you're new, especially if you're new, is a fresh set of eyes. So you are going to see things in ways that no one else is. So even if you don't know the specific tech stack or the specific way that the code is put together, if you have an understanding, even an elementary understanding of what's going on, you might think of questions that no one has thought to ask before. You might see something in the corner there that no one else has checked that corner, because when you're working on things, you as a developer, it's very easy to get tunnel vision, and then you just get so absorbed into what you're doing that all these peripheral things you kind of become blind to. You kind of put your blinders up. So even if you're new, even when you're brand new, ask questions and offer your opinion, offer your view. Even if it gets shut down, even if it gets shot straight down, if you work at a good company with people who really care about their employees, then they're going to at least hear you out. And even if none of your ideas become anything, there's a possibility that it will, so it's going to bring, possible value to the company. And it just makes you look really good. I mean, not necessarily that looking good is, your goal, but to your employer, to your managers and stuff, they really love to see people like that. In some companies, I guess in some places, they don't want people to speak up, but I don't want to work at a company that's like that. They just put you in your little corner and they say, okay, you do this, don't ask questions, and then you clock out and you go home. I don't want to work for a place like that. And this is kind of, the other side of the same coin is not only speak up, but listen to others, even if they're not a developer themselves. I've even started listening to people outside the development world. We work with content people, and we work with, basically anyone, if they have some sort of opinion, I'll try to listen to that. And again, even if it's not an actual, like, pragmatically or practically valuable opinion, it might plant a seed for you and help you see something from a perspective that you didn't see before. So it can actually help you do better work too. So I'm going to quote my guy, Bill Nye here, or he's attributed to this quote anyway. Something like, everyone you meet knows something you don't. So, and that's so true. It might not be valuable to you, but everyone knows something that you don't. Everyone's experienced something that you haven't. So it behooves oneself to listen. All right, so the second thing that I learned this year is seek progress over perfection. I know you've probably heard this cliche a bunch of times, but it's so true. As someone who's always been a perfectionist, I want things to be exactly right and exactly perfect. But the thing is that perfect doesn't actually exist, so it's a really good way to completely stifle your creativity and your work if you're always, searching or seeking to be perfect in everything. And that's my personal experience anyway. When I start to do something and I'm like, okay, I want this to be perfect, then it almost like demotivates me to want to do anything at all, right? Because I realize how much work it's going to require for me to create any semblance of perfection. So progress is so much better. The specifics of it are, whatever company you join, you're going to be given a code base, right? You're going to be given a business and operational reality that you're going to be living in this moment, right? And you might want to be at this ideal place in the future. Maybe you want to use a different tech stack, or you want to rewrite how this is working, or whatever it is. That's great, and it's great to have that vision, but you're here now. So the next best thing is to progress. Make this a little bit better today. Make it a little bit closer to that ideal, that perfection. Take those strides, take those little incremental steps that are going to put you closer to where you want to be, where the company wants to be. Because in most cases, for me, my idea of perfection requires me to completely tear everything down and start from scratch and rebuild it and try to answer all the questions that we missed when it was first built, try to fix all the bugs, try to, see things from all of the directions that we didn't see before. But there's a problem, because now we have this new application built, and guess what? There's new questions, there's new perspectives, there's new operational realities. The world has changed since then, right? So there's still always going to be things that you're going to miss. There's no way to ever create some perfect application that's going to last as is forever, right? So it's a process. So aim for progress. There is a quote that I love. I don't know who actually said it, but it's, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And that's just it, right? Perfection kills good things all the time. And I wanted to add a quick thing. This is kind of related to the first lesson. It's, don't be afraid to ask questions. I know I said that before, but I just want to clarify one point. Don't assume that you know what's being asked of you. Like, you might be hearing that, you're like, well, duh, like, you want to make sure you know. But for me, like, I don't know. I guess I was just very timid when I first started, and I just wouldn't ask. I just kind of assumed, like, okay, yeah, I know what they're asking. And there were times where I did that, and I assumed wrong. And so I would start working on something, and it would not be exactly what we needed. So I just thought about that, and I figured I would just, throw that in. Okay, so for the third thing, this is one of those that I could not have predicted. And I had to learn this lesson the hard way several times. And I actually have a video that I've made before where I kind of tell the story of, my folly, we'll say. But the third thing is, think about how your work fits into the bigger picture. How what you're doing specifically, like I was saying before, as developers, we can really get tunnel vision. We just get really laser focused in on what we're doing, and we want to solve this specific problem. And we just kind of put our blinders up to everything else around us, and we don't really think about how this fits in, with the business realities, with operational realities, with, market realities, or whatever it is, because we usually have other people that worry about those things. But if you want to be a grade A top-notch developer, then you will make those considerations. And even if you don't know, then talk to the people who do. So talk to the people that do understand those things and try to understand, because like I said in that previous video, I didn't do those things. I didn't ask those questions, and I was, and I thought of a really clever solution to this problem that we had. But the problem is that it worked just for that specific problem, and basically it was unusable. I had to completely rewrite it. And that was because I didn't take those business considerations into consideration. So yeah, talk to people in your company, within the development team, outside of the development team. Let them ask questions. You ask questions. Try to understand everything that's happening in the company, and only then can you be sure, or at least pretty sure, that you can come up with a solution that's going to work for you today and tomorrow and several weeks or months or years into the future. I mean, nothing lasts forever, but you don't want to be rewriting things every week like I did. And number 4, this one is probably really obvious to you too, but document your work. This is a lesson that I've had to learn over and over and over and over again. And most developers hate to write documentation, but it's not. So, okay, my COO put it to me like this. Documentation is for you. It is for you to do better at your job. It's for you to understand the technology that you're working with better. It's for you to write better code in the future. It's for you to keep a record and understanding of what's going on within your code base. So it's for you. Write it even if you're the only one that reads it, especially if you're the only one that reads it, but write it for you. That might sound selfish, but that's not really the reality of it. It's really because, think of it like this. If you do an awesome job at your job, then who's going to benefit from that? Your company, all of your users, your clients, so whatever you can do to make your job better is always going to benefit, your little corporate community as a whole. Also, when the next guy or girl comes in, you basically have the training manual for them. So, and a quick aside, I realize a lot of these things are very specific to my company realities. So take all of this with a grain of sand. That's not a grain of salt, because, your reality is going to be different. But I think the overall lessons can kind of apply anywhere, but the specifics of how and why I've learned these lessons are going to be specific to me. So I just wanted to say that. It's probably obvious to you, but I say that because my current position is I'm basically going in and documenting and kind of writing the manual on what it is, how it is to do my job and be in my position at my company. I'm the only one at my company who does what I do. So by writing everything down, when the next person comes in who's also doing my job, Now I get to take all this documentation and experiences and everything that I've written down and learned and everything, and I get to pass that along to the next person. So it's so valuable. It is so valuable to have documentation written on your code for a lot of different reasons. So there you have it. I mean, those are my biggest lessons that I learned this past year. Like I said, there's so many lessons. I learn a new lesson every day. The problem is not trying not to relearn those lessons. So I guess if you truly do learn it, then you don't have to learn it again. Anyway, so thanks for watching the video, and if you got some value out of it, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. That's the same thing. Give it a subscribe. And again, if you want to come join the conversation, join the Discord below. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.